I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. She's no stranger to controversy, and now actress Susan Sarandon has Catholics up in arms over recent comments about the Pope. We'll have reaction. Plus, nearly 49 million people are going hungry in America. We'll take a look at the dire situation through their eyes.
Do you know how that feels as a parent to tell your kids that there's not enough to eat?
And fighting hunger here in New York. The Knights of Columbus take to the streets.
And especially now with this economic times, I think there are people that are in need now that may not have been before.
Well, good evening, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. Actress Susan Sarandon is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. During a panel discussion this past weekend at the Hamptons Film Festival, Sarandon, who starred as a nun in the anti-death penalty movie Dead Man Walking, told an interviewer that she'd sent a copy of the book the movie was based on to the Pope. She clarified by saying which Pope, though. She added, quote, "the last one, not this Nazi one we have now," end quote. She was referring, of course, there to Pope Benedict, who is German. Advocacy groups, though, quick to condemn Sarandon's remark. The Anti-Defamation League, which fights against anti-Semitism and other forms of bigotry, called on Sarandon to apologize. And in a statement, Catholic League President Bill Donahue called Sarandon's comment obscene, saying her ignorance of Pope Benedict's past is, quote, willful. Well, joining me now by phone to talk more about all of this is the Catholic League's Director of Communications, Jeff Field. Jeff, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us. Really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So what was your reaction, or I guess, or the reaction of the Catholic League? Does that pretty well sum it up there, what Mr. Donahue said, that this is obscene and that Sarandon's ignorance here regarding Pope Benedict's past is willful?
Oh, of course it's willful. She knows that the Pope was not a Nazi, and she was part of the that he was part of the Hitler Youth, but he was in any way, shape, or form, affiliated with the Nazi Party. And once he had the chance to leave the Hitler Youth, he left. So it's obvious that Susan Sarandon willfully ignores these facts, and for doing so, she looks like an idiot, and in fact she is. I mean, her hate towards the Catholic Church is well known, and this is just par for the course for her.
All right, and this, of course, is, as you mentioned there, not the first time she's been sort of involved in controversy here. Do you think maybe, I mean, was she being maybe just overly dramatic to prove a point here, or what kind of was the point of even making a comment like calling the Pope a Nazi?
Well, some are saying that she may have been using it to describe Pope Benedict's policy stance on different issues, and he's more conservative. That is just blatantly false. It doesn't matter whether or not. I mean, would she use the word Nazi to describe a more orthodox rabbi? Of course not. We know that. She would use it, and she actually used it again because the crowd out there in the Hamptons was laughing at her statement. So she decided to call him a Nazi for a second time, which is just being reported now. So to use it twice, I mean, she knows what she was doing, and she willfully did so. And to use the word Nazi, especially with the German Pope, who was part of the Hitler Youth because he was conscripted into it, and he actually left the Hitler Youth to the financial, it hurt his family financially. To use Hitler Youth, or to use Nazi and Pope Benedict the 16th in the same sentence, is just wrong, and it's obscene. And that's the bottom line.
No. Oh, excuse me. As I said earlier, the Anti-Defamation League has called on Ms. Sarandon to apologize. Has the Catholic League done something similar?
No, we're not going to call on her for her to apologize. She willfully did this. What would her apology mean? Absolutely nothing. She's made these comments like this in the past. Her apology would be empty. So I mean, we're not calling on her to apologize because she meant it. She said called him a Nazi twice. She meant what she said, and when there's no reason to call for an apology.
All right. Well, Jeff Field with the Catholic League Director of Communications there. We really appreciate it. I know that you guys are busy over there covering this and talking about this and a whole host of issues. So we thank you for taking a few minutes to join us and talk to us here on Currents. Really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you. Well, stay with us. There's much more Currents ahead. The Vatican says it has no intention of getting involved in the case of an American bishop who's been indicted. We'll have that story plus the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, put on your walking shoes. Some locals hit the streets to help a food pantry. First, though, let's have a look at the day's headlines. The Vatican says it has no intention of getting involved in the case of an American bishop who was indicted last week for allegedly failing to report a priest possessing child pornography. Kansas City St. Joseph Bishop Robert Finn pleaded not guilty last week to misdemeanor charges. He had acknowledged knowing of child pornography being discovered on a priest's computer and not reporting it for 5 months. The Vatican spokesman says any intervention on the part of the Holy See could be interpreted as interference. Now, Finn has apologized for mishandling the case, but he denies any criminal wrongdoing. Well, meanwhile, the Archbishop of St. Paul, Minneapolis is mobilizing Catholic churches across Minnesota to work to amend the state constitution to define marriage as between one man and one woman. In a letter to every priest in Minnesota, Archbishop John Neinstead says it is, quote, imperative to educate Catholics about the church's teachings on marriage and to support efforts to get out the vote on a marriage amendment. Minnesotans will vote on the measure in November. In Rome, the Vatican is condemning the weekend violence during which demonstrators desecrated a Catholic church. During the rioting, which took place during what was supposed to be an Occupy Rome demonstration, protesters broke into a church, destroyed the sacristy door, and vandalized a large crucifix. Rioters also took a statue of the Virgin Mary into the street where they smashed it. Well, the leader of one of the most visible resistance movements in Cuba has died. Laura Poyan, the wife of a journalist who spent 8 years in jail, died last week. Reports say the 63-year-old Poyan suffered a mosquito-borne illness called dengue fever. Poyan led the wives, sisters, and mothers of political prisoners in a group known as the Ladies in White. The group gathered each Sunday in Havana at the Church of St. Rita, the patron saint of lost causes, to pray for their relatives' release. Well, meantime, a Scottish man will spend 8 months behind bars for posting anti-Catholic statements on the internet. Only days after being released from jail on a previous sentence, Stephen Burrell posted on Facebook that fans of one soccer team were, quote, Catholic scumbags, and he also said they should all die. The judge in that case said he sentenced Burrell to jail time to send a clear message to deter others. Well, Pope Benedict is gathering with representatives of other religions in the Italian town of Assisi next week. But unlike previous meetings, they will not all pray together. The gathering, which is being referred to as a peace pilgrimage, will take place on the 25th anniversary of the first such gathering, which was organized by Pope John Paul II. It was repeated again in 2002. This year will be the first gathering led by Pope Benedict. Well, after 5 years, an Israeli soldier has been set free. Gilad Shalit was freed after Israel agreed to release more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners in return. Hamas captured Shalit back in 2006. Shalit said he was feeling good but suffering from small injuries from shrapnel wounds. In an interview, he said he hopes his release signals better things going forward.
I hope that this deal would help to achieve peace between the Palestinian and Israeli sides.
Shalit's father told Israeli television that it was the happiest day of his life. Europe's highest court says the patenting of stem cell procedures that result in the destruction of human embryos is against the law. The case involved a procedure to convert embryonic stem cells into nerve cells. The ruling only involved people getting patents on the procedure, but not the procedure itself. Well, the debate goes on over a memorial cross on public land in California. Supporters of the Mount Soledad Cross in San Diego say they will take their case to the Supreme Court after an appeals court elected to not review a previous ruling declaring the display unconstitutional. The cross was built as a memorial for veterans of the Korean War. Opponents say its location constitutes state-endorsed religion. And thinking about becoming a priest, well, there's an app for that. A priest in Ireland has developed a vocations app. It includes contact details and statistics for Ireland's 26 Catholic dioceses and answers to frequently asked questions by men discerning a vocation. The app was designed by a priest who has been the national coordinator for vocations in Ireland. Well, stay with us. There's more currents ahead. When we return, most of us take for granted we'll have food on the table tonight, but not this woman. We'll share her story.
For a long time, I felt like food was a privilege. I've been to the point where it's like, oh my God, I ate today. That's great, and no one should feel like that.
Welcome back. Well, U.S. Bishops' Conference President, New York Archbishop Timothy Dolan, recently asked priests to preach about the issue of poverty in their homilies. Dolan's call came at the urging of the Bishops' Conference's Administrative Committee. In a letter to all bishops, Dolan wrote that widespread unemployment, underemployment, and pervasive poverty are undermining human dignity and hurting children and families. Well, CNN's Deborah Farrick now ventures beyond the talk and the staggering statistics to bring the story of families living in poverty to life.
God is good, God is grace, and we thank you for our food. Amen.
If you want to know what hunger looks like,
You want some of my grits?
look at it through the eyes of Tiana Gaines and her young family.
Do you know pretty much what time of the month the food is going to go on clearance?
Oh, I know by the time of the day it goes on clearance. I have some fresh vegetables down here.
She buys on sale, in bulk, with coupons, and always with purpose.
I keep a lot of oatmeal because sometimes if things get tough, you can always eat oatmeal for dinner or for lunch or something like that.
Gaines, who works 2 jobs, is among the nearly 49 million Americans struggling to put enough food on the table.
Do you know how that feels as a parent to tell your kids that there's not enough to eat?
What is the hungriest you've ever been in your life, and how do you describe that?
Horrible, degrading, miserable, stressful, disrespected.
The scientific term for hunger is food insecurity, and since the U.S. Department of Agriculture began keeping track in the mid-1990s, it has now reached an all-time high.
When someone is food insecure, you're getting at the worry and the anxiety of not being able to afford enough food. You may have enough food for the day, but you're worried about tomorrow or you're worried about next week. Well, no witnesses.
Mariana Chilton created the project Witness to Hunger. Gaines is one of more than 40 women who photographed their struggles, hoping to expose hunger and poverty. There's also Jean Culver, a single mother of 2 young boys from Pennsylvania.
Are your boys aware that you may not be eating because you want to make sure they're fed?
They're not aware of that, but they do get the fact that mommy doesn't have enough money to get them what they want.
She snapped this photo at the end of the month.
That was all I had, and so many things that needed to be done with that change. It's just overbearing. It's hard to handle. It's really hard to handle.
This picture of a dilapidated kitchen was taken by 24-year-old Barbara Izquierdo, a mother of 2.
I took the picture because I wanted to prove that regardless of what you see on the outside, you never really know what's going on behind closed doors.
Even families receiving the maximum amount of food stamps will need about $206 more a month to buy the minimum amount of food as defined by the USDA. Izquierdo, like the others, never thought she'd have to choose between paying bills or buying food.
For a long time, I felt like food was a privilege. I've been to the point where it's like, oh my God, I ate today. That's great, and no one should feel like that.
Deborah.
Well, that report there from CNN's Deborah Farrick. That really, well, it kind of puts it all in perspective, doesn't it? Stay with us. There's more currents ahead. Coming up, as food pantries struggle to keep their shelves stocked, the Knights of Columbus use their feet to lend a helping hand.
We gather coats, food, whatever we could get and give it to people that really need it.
Well, finally tonight, though many families across the country are struggling to put food on their tables, their struggles are not forgotten. And we discovered that this past weekend at Dyker Park right here in Brooklyn. For the third year in a row, the Knights of Columbus John Hughes Council lent a helping hand, or I guess maybe lent a helping foot in this case, in what has become quite the popular tradition, a walk around the park to raise money for a food pantry.
Hunger is happening in our community and other communities around us, and we need to do something about it. There's people that are living on our block, in our backyard, so to speak, that are struggling to put food on their table. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen.
People are here to support the walkathon. This is something that started 3 years ago, where there was a tremendous amount of people starving practically. And we made an idea, why don't we have a walkathon? Everybody else has a walkathon, and we've continued it. This is our third year.
The Reaching Out community service helps our neighborhood, helps our community in the fight against hunger. Our food pantry of the parish, or the food we collect, goes to their community service and for their distribution to people who are in need. We raise funds for them. We're a sponsor for the walk, along with the Knights of Columbus here. So we just do whatever we can to help them.
Well, right now, here is where we're going to have the gathering, and then we're going to be doing our two-mile walk around the Dyker Park, and then returning back here for a time of, some games and food and refreshments, and just have a great time of neighborhood collaboration.
I believe that people need to be made aware, and this is part of an awareness project. And once they're made aware, they stop in their tracks. We're all busy in our lives every day, but then, we stop and just take stock of what goes on around us and realize there are others out there that need help, and they take a moment out of their life and they come to events like this.
Well, look, if they could get another person that sees them walking to donate, to bring a can of food to a food drive, and to see that there's really a problem, that's awesome. If we have 100 people and we get 200 cans of food from somebody that would never give, that's great.
We have people right here in our own backyard that are hungry and really need our help. I know that we support a lot of different causes, but this is, if we can't eat, we can't function. And this is a very serious situation that no one seems to get.
Anybody that comes in, doesn't matter, Tom's going to help them out, Reaching Out's going to help them out. And yes, and we see it. He sees it every day. It's more and more people using the pantry.
What I hope we accomplish today as a group is that we raise awareness about the problem that's out there, about people that are in need, and that we raise awareness that we should be out there helping. By out there marching and walking, we're showing people that we're willing to help and that they should also get involved. And I hope that by doing this, we raise the profile of Reaching Out Community Services so that other people will either give financially, give in their time and their talent and whatever they can do to assist them.
See, we had the problem earlier on in the show, that people were hungry, food insecure, as the scientific term goes. And then we had the solution right there, people getting out in the streets and really making a difference there. And hopefully we can all make a difference in what is really kind of a dire situation for a lot of people. Well, that is it for this edition of Currents. Now, be sure and join us online at currentsny.net between now and next time. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. And if email's more your thing, just drop us a line. The email address is dropusaline@currentsny.net. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.